Hey guys, welcome back. It's another race weekend here in Tennessee. We had just arrived at the Thunder Rock trailhead and we're getting ready to go pre-ride. We've got a Big Fog 65 this weekend, which is right over here at the Cohutta Whitewater Center, and we'll show you that a little bit later. But man, it is calling for a beautiful weekend with a lot of blue skies and around 60 degrees all day. So we're excited for some good weather and some good racing.
I had to stop and look at that waterfall.
Alright, let's go. Well, we just rolled up on the Cohutta Whitewater Center. This is where they held the 1996 Whitewater Rafting Olympics. So pretty cool to see where the Olympics was held. So we just go right across this bridge in the race and we take that sharp left and go right up a nice big old climb.
This is the first big trail climb of the race. It's just after we do the starting loop, come down across the bridge right in front of the Cohutta Whitewater Center. Last year, this is where the moves were made, where the leaders broke away from the rest of the pack. This was the first real hard push of the race. The dirt here is really sandy, real sandy, and not many rocks, but a lot of roots. The old Copper Trail was pretty wet compared to the rest of the trail. We ended up taking it pretty easy. We didn't want to get our bikes and our kits all muddy before throwing it in the truck. So we got here to the top of this upper put-in for the Ocoee River, and we're going to go ahead and take this highway, take this road back. Seems safe, right? We're actually descending the starting hill right now. My guess is maybe a mile and a half or a 2-mile climb. We're going down it right now. 6.5% is what the sign says. Good section. Downhill.
Oh, man, rips, dude.
We were on our way down here and I was pumping gas and she was just inspecting her bike, and she noticed that there was a slice in her sidewall on her tire that I hadn't seen. So that was added to the stress of the day. But luckily some of our friends had a spare tire and some Stan's fluid for us, so we got that sorted. So what are we having for dinner, Olivia?
Vegetables over that spaghetti over there. Not a sharp one, I guess.
It's not a sharp
One down, a bag to go.
Mayonnaise? What do you do with mayonnaise?
Ew.
Mayonnaise?
Do people put that on lettuce? How's your food?
I think I put salsa on my spaghetti. Nothing was in this real container.
Good morning, everybody. We're at the Cohutta Whitewater Center this morning. Just pulled in for the race day, eating some breakfast, and about to get the bottles ready for race. We got about an hour and a half before we take off. Feeling pretty good, a little chilly outside, but it's gonna be fun.
All right, guys, get ready. Good to ride your bike in the woods. On your mark.
Let's go, Brian.
Get set. Go.
I got a quick little warm up in, and then I head to the start with just a few minutes left before the start of the race. Backed it in the front, and that's Elliot Baring next to me, to my left. Hope I said his last name right.
Course markings, you're following blue tape today. Always blue tape, nothing else. You got a 3-mile hill climb here up the road to spread you out going into the single track. All right, guys, get ready. We'll see you at the finish line. On your mark, set, go.
We know it's a long race, so we're not really hitting it that hard just at the start. We've got about a 2 to 2.5 mile climb before we hit the single track. Drew Dillman tacked on the way up the climb just before the top. He got about 100 yards on the rest of the field, and then it was me and then a few other guys on my tail. We all entered the woods together. And then Drew Dillman and I rode the single track for a while together. So we had a decent gap on the 2 guys behind us. We weren't really pushing too hard yet again, just settling into a comfortable pace. Trying not to crash, trying not to burn ourselves up. No need to be passing each other or riding too aggressive at this point in the race. You can see just how smooth he is out here on the single track. He's definitely one of the most technically skilled riders that I've ridden with. He's a cyclocross expert. This section of trail was dry. Pretty much dry. It's just real fast, flowy, and lots of turns. And then we get into one of the more muddy, technical, rooty, rocky sections, and I forget to turn my GoPro back on. In that section of trail that I missed is the Old Copper Trail. It runs alongside the river all the way back to the Cohutta Whitewater Center. By the time we get to that segment of trail, I've been caught by Elliot Baring and Drew has already put about 15 seconds on us. So here, Elliot and I are riding together on the second portion of single track. I think the trail is maybe Bear Paw. And he also is a pretty technical rider. You can see he just gaps me a little bit here and there in the corners and over some of the more technical stuff. I keep looking over my shoulder and I just catch glimpses of Thomas Turner behind us. He's not going to let us go that easy. It's starting to get a little warm here, and you notice that Elliot puts a pretty big gap on me. I was actually trying to pull down my arm warmers, but it was getting a little bumpy, so I ended up having to wait till we hit the gravel road to get them all the way off. Once we exited the trail, there's an aid station right there, and those workers told us that there was a 4-minute gap already between Drew Dillman and us. We're sitting here talking to each other and we're like, no way, there's no way he put 4 minutes on us in that little piece of single track. We've got a lot of gravel ahead of us. Pretty much the race is shaped like a lollipop, and now we're on the stick of the lollipop, and it's all gravel until we get back to where we are, basically. It's not a bad idea to run a little bit lower tire pressure and maybe a little higher volume tire here because there's a lot of these gravel turns. I was sliding around a little bit. I was running a 2.1 Schwab Racing Ralph on the back. Yeah. And a 2.25 in the front.
Oh, nice. I got mine on here too. Oh, awesome. Yeah, same here.
Well, then out of nowhere, Thomas just snuck up on us, actually surprised me. So now all three of us are riding together. And we're not really attacking each other or really trying to hurt each other here. Stop at the aid station for my bottles. I think I might have said the wrong number, but I almost rode off without my bottles, but then I spotted them. I think I lost about 40 seconds here at the aid station. I loaded up 2 bottles on my bike and 1 in my pocket so that I wouldn't have to stop again and take off, because I know I've got a lot of work ahead of me to catch back up with those guys. There might be a little bit of swearing happening at this point in time. I'm just giving it everything I have right now, because if I don't catch them, well, the race is over anyways, so I might as well just burn it up and try to catch them. And I just spot them. They're over there to my left, going up a climb. All right, they're just out of sight right here. And I just tell myself to settle down, settle down. I don't have to catch them immediately. At least I can see them. And I just work my way back up. I'm just sitting on the back trying to recover from that huge effort I just put in. And my camera ends up dying before the end, so I'm just going to speak over this. It's not necessarily what's happening right now in the moment. So they end up dropping me on one of the long climbs. I was, riding right on the edge, and couldn't go any faster, and so they just gradually rode away from me. I knew that I still had a chance to catch them, so I just put in a huge dig to catch them. I ended up catching Thomas because Elliot had just dropped him, and giving him a heads up that Chris Trees is behind us and he's pushing really hard. So then I just put in another huge dig all the way to the single track. I'm able to hold off Thomas and Chris Trees all the way to the single track. And pretty soon after that, Chris comes by me, and then Thomas comes by a little bit after that. Thomas gets a stick stuck in his rear derailleur and has to stop and pull it out. I pass him, and just a little bit later, Thomas comes right back by me just before the Thunder Rock descent. I never saw him after that, and ended up just soloing it in for a 5th place finish. I think Elliot finished maybe 4 minutes or so ahead of me, and then Chris was maybe a minute, and then Thomas 30 seconds. But Drew Dillman, wow, kudos to him. He soloed the entire race and beat us all by about 13 or 15 minutes. So kudos to teammate Drew Dillman.
All right, guys, get ready. See you at the finish line. On your mark, set, go.
The start of these big races are always really interesting. There's a lot of people, and usually they're going to put you on a road for a little while with a big climb to spread you out before you get into the single track. So at this point, I am just trying to push as hard as I can up this climb. It's quite long, maybe 8 minutes long, and try to position myself well for the single track. My recommendation is to try to get into the trailhead as fast as possible so that you don't get stuck behind riders that maybe don't ride trail as well as you do. This section of trail is fast and flowy, and there's only one little climb before you descend into the flat section that leads you back to the Ocoee Whitewater Center. I just entered Old Copper Trail. That's the one that runs right by the Ocoee River, leading you to the Ocoee Whitewater Center. And this is a nice flat section where you can go over a lot of big roots and some rocks. I really enjoyed this during the race at the beginning. You know, it was wet and it was awesome. You hit all those mud puddles. It was great. I probably should have pushed a little bit harder up the climb to get in the trail early, so I didn't lose as much time here. Just made it to the Ocoee Whitewater Center, 9 miles down and 56 more to go. This is my absolute favorite part, when we dip back into the trail and head back to the finish line, because now we're so spread out that I can really enjoy and catch some speed where I'm good at. Another great part of this last part of single track is you go through these power line openings and you can see forever, and they're beautiful views. So if you can catch a minute during the race and look over, it's well worth the risk.
job. Here's real water. I've got another one, so just finish that.
She's coming after you.
Hey, good job, Noel.
Good job.
Go.
Time child Shannon's, you know. Nice one. That was fun.
Did you run out?
Just need water, not calories.
I'm so proud of you. Good job. Good job, babe. So good. Good job. Good job. Good job. Thoughts on the race, babe?
It's really hard. I don't remember it being that hard.
Those climbs are insane.
It hurt every inch.
Good job.
I'm a wreck.
Thoughts on the race, buddy?
Feel great. Yep, about 40 minutes faster than last year. No cramps. Stayed ahead of the nutrition. Got a little bit left of the single track.
That was your goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep, hammered it downhill.
Awesome. Oh,
Feeling
Thunder
good.
Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Woo!
We've never been there, I guess.
Nice job. Rico, post-race thoughts.
Way better than last year. I beat my last year time by an hour.
Oh, nice.
Well over
Nice. Wow.
No blown shock, no belly ache.
All right. All right, Brian.
Good job, Brian. Nice. Get in tight.
Nice job, guys.